Hey everybody, it's Mike and Denise. We're on a hike on the way back. Should be a easy hike for us to do a little reading or review and comment on the news. Thanks for joining us. This is gonna be a good one because it's about regenerative vegan growing of plants, and which is what I believe the future is. So let's get right into it because this is from Veg News. It just came out a couple days ago, I think, and it addresses this exact topic.
It's gonna be hard for me to read because we're on a hike and I didn't bring my glasses because I didn't want to drop them and break them. Is vegan regenerative agriculture the key to building a sustainable future of food? Regenerative agriculture prioritizes farming practices that take care of soil health, and it can be vegan too. By Charlotte Pointing, May 12th, 2023. Most of us don't spare a thought for soil that often, but the truth is without it, we'd struggle to survive. After all, it is responsible for growing most of our food. That's one key reason why it's incredibly important that we take care of our soil. But the earth beneath our feet can also play another significant role, tackling the climate crisis. As it turns out, healthy soil can actually pull carbon out of the atmosphere. But right now, not all of our soil is in a good way.
Okay, before you go on, I wanted to comment here because they're talking about obviously the growing of plants. Now, if you eat chemicals and artificial foods, that's also vegan, if it's not any animal products in it, right? And I've talked recently about how I'm concerned about the sustainability of the entire vegan movement because of people getting sick, you know? So not only the environment, but people. And I also just released a video that shows the correlation between optimizing your health and optimizing the health of the environment, and that one is not available without the other. So all of this is interconnected. So I'm so glad to hear this article.
Around the world, soil is being
Okay, I'll keep commenting until Denise is ready. And like I was saying, I released a video. It's on this channel, so just look within the last day or so. I think I should release it this morning. I'm not sure if I'm going to release this one today, but it's there. It's 45 minutes long, and like we said, we know at our own events people get sick. They're not eating chemical-free whole plants, and that's what this article is about. So I'm glad to see it.
You skipped the next paragraph. There's nothing after around the world soil is being. The next page starts as it turns out.
Yeah.
There's no.
It's okay. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you. Right up here. It's up at the top.
As it turns out, what?
As it turns out, here, healthy soil can actually pull carbon. You already read that. So I overlapped it. They're overlapped. Sorry, we're like Denise said, she has never glasses. So I have to, she's zooming in on screenshots I took of this article. We're not seeing, and plus we're out in the middle of nowhere, as you can see.
Mike insists that we do these readings while we're walking, when I'm not looking where I'm going and I don't
We can go slow.
glasses.
Actually, slow down as slow as you want. But actually, like Denise said, I want to comment on that too. Get outside. Do not sit down and watch these videos. That's why we're out here, because otherwise we'd just be walking. Now we can get some knowledge too, like you can, by listening to or watching this video while you're walking or driving and whatever.
Healthy soil can actually pull carbon out of the atmosphere, but right now, not all of our soil is in a good way. Around the world, soil is being degraded and depleted by agriculture, particularly animal agriculture.
But also, let's also say, non-organic agriculture, non-organic growing of plants that are grown with chemicals. That's also destroying the soils, and they don't even need good soils to grow in those.
Yes.
So they're not even helping to improve the soil. Think about that the next time you choose what you're eating.
In fact, in the U.S., industrialized livestock is responsible for around 85% of all soil erosion. One solution to reduce the impact farming has on the land is to embrace a technique called regenerative agriculture. But what does this actually mean, and will it involve leaving animal farming behind for good? Regenerative agriculture is essentially about creating a system of farming that helps to improve the land and not deplete it.
That's good. That's the key right there. Who doesn't want to improve the land and the soil rather than depleting it, right? Everyone, I think, is in agreement with that. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with that.
In short, it's a system of farming principles and practices that seeks to rehabilitate and enhance the entire ecosystem of the farm by practicing a heavy.
Going to the next slide.
heavy
Yeah, so let me, actually, every time Denise switches over, I'll try to comment during these times. So, like I said, I know everybody wants this. We know everybody wants this. There's nobody out there that doesn't want that. So this is definitely the future of growing plants, and plants are the future. So we've got to start zeroing in on this regenerative stuff.
It's a heavy premium on soil health, with attention also paid to water management, fertilizer use, and more, notes the Climate Reality Project, a climate change education nonprofit. It involves moving away from intensive plowing and tilling, which erodes soil, as well as increasing plant diversity, rotating crops to infuse the soil with more organic matter, and generally minimizing soil disturbance by reducing the use of chemicals like fertilizers.
Okay, all of this stuff, they don't mention it here. I wish they did. Permaculture, that's one of the things, right? Food forest, agroforestry, all this stuff. They're totally different techniques than agriculture, which is like they said plowing and tilling of the land, constant disturbance. Rather than look around us, we have this forest here. Does somebody come in here and plow this forest once a year?
No, I see. So with permaculture, you don't have to dig it up every year, plow it, and reseed it. It's there permanently.
Yes, and they're talking about runoff, soil runoff from animal agriculture. How much runoff do you think is going to happen with traditional plant agriculture? Tons. But these trees hold all the soil together around us. This is what you want, a food forest of all food.
There is also no place for the current method of industrialized livestock production in regenerative farming. Grazing livestock is a fully automated system for ecological destruction, explains environmentalist George Monbiot for The Guardian. You need only release them onto the land and they do the rest, browsing out tree seedlings, simplifying complex.
They're like humans. They go in there and they'll just tear everything apart with the easiest stuff torn apart the first, right? Why would you want to start with the most difficult stuff until all you got left is the difficult stuff and the big stuff, and that's a totally unbalanced system.
So they kill the tree seedlings?
Well, they'll go after everything easy, right? Anything and everything easy. So basically all this left like around here would be big, thick, old trees and nothing to replace it. Whoa, oh my gosh. That could be a problem.
Walking while you're driving the tree.
I'm right. See this tree here. Yeah, we gotta watch the obstacles. This hike has been like almost yoga, in addition to the hike, because we're the only people out on this trail today, and I can see why. Because it's just not maintained. But it's okay. We're getting our exercise.
The livestock, they simplify the complex ecosystems because they eat all the easy stuff that they can.
And which is a lot of stuff too. So all that's left is the old, thick trees that they can't get to.
Their keepers augment this assault by slaughtering large predators.
And that's how animal agriculture works, right?
Yeah.
The animals go in and they vacuum clean the land, which is not good. That's not how nature works, okay? And then the humans kill off all the animals. It's all the time the animals are shitting and peeing on everything. It's all running off too. It's bad news.
Yeah, we bought up a farm in Ecuador, and all the soil is depleted of its nutrients because it was grazed by cattle for generations before we bought it.
Yep.
Indigenous communities invented regenerative agriculture.
See, that's new. I guess they did. Yeah.
Yeah, the Indians planted corn and
Native Americans.
Yeah, they had all different crops. They didn't just plant one crop year after year. Regenerative farming has been.
But hold on. It's not planting one crop. Remember, we're not talking about traditional methods where you're going with a plow and tearing it all down. They did a food forest method. That's what this is. The regenerative is like a food forest method.
Yeah. Regenerative farming has been hailed by many as the future of food, but it's also important to recognize that for many indigenous groups, it is also their past. Looking after the earth earth in this way is not a new invention. Did you know that there were no domesticated draft animals in the Western Hemisphere before European colonization of America?
What's a draft animal?
Like a
Horse?
draft horse to plow your
Okay,
fields.
okay.
That's the Climate Reality
So
Project.
because they weren't plowing any fields.
No.
They were building, they had here, and they planted in between the trees and all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
Before this, indigenous communities were looking at their land using regenerative practices. There was also no tilling or monocropping. For example,
Of course not. No Monsanto.
They would use a combination
GMOs.
of maize, beans, and squash to provide the soil with all the nutrients it needed to thrive.
Yes, and actually, when I was working at Planetary Farms, I still volunteer there, organic farm in Northern Virginia outside DC. We did that last year. We had a little ceremony where we planted all three of those together. And that's because that's what, like Denise said, that's what Native Americans do, and there's reasons for it.
Yeah, well, we had a dinner at Green Fair that featured those three things too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, that's right.
It's important that credit be given where it's due. The practices we now praise as being good for food security and the environment were not dreamed up in a laboratory in the last.
You mean Monsanto didn't come up with this stuff? Bayer Chemical? No. Think about this. This is not new. We have to return to the old ways. Like this forest around us is not new. It's been here forever. And it's growing on its own, and it's balanced. That's what Denise. They don't mention the word balance, but that's part of all this concept. Everything is balanced. Everything about life is balanced.
They were born on the plains, executed across Appalachia, and transformed desert spaces into cases long before colonizers stormed the shore of what is now the United States. It continues. They were developed by indigenous people, and we are grateful. Can regenerative agriculture be applied to animals? While regenerative agriculture practices are often applied to crops, some farmers are also applying them to animal agriculture. For example, in Georgia, one farm called White Oak Pastures has moved away from industrial cattle ranching and instead aims to improve the health of the land by rotating organic chickens, pigs, and next slide.
Yeah. When they poop and pee, you use that as fertilizer. That's like the black gold and everything. And I wonder, they don't mention if indigenous peoples were farming animals. I don't think they had animal agriculture, did they? Indigenous peoples?
I don't think so.
I think they learned that from the white man, basically. Us,
Yeah.
all the bad habits, everybody learned from us.
I don't think they had cattle here. I think that was brought from Europe.
Yeah.
And same thing with those pigs. They don't have wild boar over here.
Yeah.
Those were pigs that got loose.
We have bad habits, and by the way, before I forget the bad habits, get good habits. Get my book, Live to 150. It's totally free. LIVETO150.org.
So in animal agriculture, they're rotating organic chickens, pigs, and cattle. As a result, it has claimed that its grass-fed beef is a carbon neutral because its healthy soil is storing more carbon than its cows emit in their lifetime. But that said,
let's say one other thing. Yeah, problem is it takes so much land to do that. There's enough land on Earth doesn't exist if you turn all of it into cow pasture. It's totally unsustainable.
Yeah. That said, critics are keen to point out that any low carbon steaks are still likely to have produced far more emissions than plant-based products.
Definitely.
Yeah, beef is an industry notorious for potent methane emissions.
Yeah.
And it's arguably never going to be better for the planet to pick up a hamburger over a block of tofu.
Definitely.
In 2022, the Environmental Working Group called the idea of low-carbon beef nonsensical as the idea of low-cancer cigarettes.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that.
No food produces more greenhouse gas emissions than beef, it explained. Even lamb results in half as many emissions pound for pound as beef, according to the most recent estimates.
Okay, well, don't use any animal products. That's the moral of that story. Is there anything more on the
Yes,
agriculture?
There's another page.
One more?
It looks like I went back to page 1.
Oops. Well, anyway, so far you're getting the idea. Grow plants. Don't even mention this, but grow them without chemicals. You don't have to, I guess when you use these regenerative methods, food forests and stuff, you could still use chemicals, but don't use any chemicals, use fully organic methods as well. And
Looks like you went back to the beginning of the article, and then there's more slides at the end, and I'm not sure if the article continues or if you redid the whole.
It's just 9, like you said. There's just nine pictures. So if you count, you know where you are. All right, I'll let Denise count.
This might be a different slide with the same title as the first slide. Many experts believe that a beef-free, plant-based food system is the answer to a healthy future of food. In 2018, for example, the largest ever food production study conducted at the University of Oxford concluded that going vegan was the single biggest action a person could take to reduce their impact on the planet. And if this food is grown with regenerative practices which nourish the soil, this is only going to benefit the planet even more. And
I'll also interject here and say that there's a lot of people who are not vegan who say that vegan only makes sense if you use regenerative practices. Because like I said here at the beginning of this article and this video, you could just be eating straight chemicals and be vegan. All right. Yeah. So you understand why you have to do this kind of stuff. Not to mention, if you're hurting your health by eating vegan junk food, that's not sustainable either, because then you can't be a vegan person or an advocate because you're not alive anymore or you're hospitalized. Not sustainable.
This idea is supported by Monbiot, who has extensively researched the idea of holistic or regenerative farm animal grazing and even interviewed some of its biggest proponents. And in his eyes, the only healthy future of farming is one that doesn't include animals. Wasn't this said in the first slide?
Well, you can go ahead and see where you are. Just flip back and you got 9 slides. So while Denise is checking, I want to also again mention that there's a lot of things this article doesn't touch on. The chemicals is one. Always buy organic when you can. Better than organic, chemical free is absolutely the best. And don't buy anything that's not as whole plant as possible. That's the other thing. Because if you're going to grow these plants, and growing the plants is going to heal the environment, which it is, you've got to buy more of the whole plants, not the food-like products, the actual food.
It's a different screenshot.
Okay.
That vast expanse of pasture land from which we obtain so little at such a great environmental cost would be better used for rewilding. The mass
That's right. We talked about that too, right?
Yeah.
In another article. Or where was the rewilding thing? We went somewhere recently. They're talking about that.
It was our last article that we read.
Oh, was it? Okay. All right.
Rewilding the mass restoration of nature, he notes. Not only would this help to reverse the catastrophic decline in habitats and the diversity and abundance of wildlife, but the returning forests, wetlands, and savannas are likely to absorb far more carbon than even the most sophisticated forms of grazing.
Is that it? I think that might be it. I think that's where it ended.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so they touched on a lot of different things. They didn't go in depth, but that rewilding thing's important too, because look around us. Look at the trees. This looks wild, right?
Yeah,
this is
plenty of oxygen out here.
Yeah, and you can have your food growing in these trees, but the other thing is, even if you're doing the food forest, the agroforestry, permaculture techniques, you'll have extra land, right? We don't have extra land now. But we will have extra land and just rewild it. And you can have places like this where you go hiking when there's nobody else around. It's just totally quiet.
Yeah.
So what else do you need any insight with that? I mean, I'm glad that Veg News is publishing that.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to share one of those quotes about going vegan is the best thing you can do for the planet.
Yes. And again, my video is on there released today about the correlation between optimizing your health and the environment. And give us your comments below, give us a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Our walk is getting close to being done. So we'll see you on the next hike or walk, and make sure you also get your daily vigorous aerobic exercise like us. And check out the book Live to 150 at liveto150.org. Bye-bye.
Bye.